10 cents, for Jesus' sake." "Why, that's a cunning little prayer," yawned the white linen nurse. Most certainly, of course, she would have smiled if the yawn hadn't caught her first. But now in the middle of the yawn it was a great deal easier to repeat the "very cunning" than to force her lips into any new expression. "Very cunning, very cunning," she kept crooning conscientiously. Modestly, like some other successful authors, the little girl flapped her eyelids languidly open and shut for 3 or 4 times before she acknowledged the compliment. "Oh, cunning as any of 'em," she admitted offhandishly. Only once again did she open either mouth or eyes, and this time it was merely one eye and half a mouth. "Do my fat iron braces hurt you?" she mumbled drowsily. "Yes, a little," conceded the white linen nurse. "Ha! They hurt me all the time," jibbed the little girl. 5 minutes later, the child who didn't particularly care about being held, and the girl who didn't particularly care about holding her, were fast asleep in each other's arms. A naughty, nagging, restive little hornet, all hushed up and a dream in the heart of a pink wild rose. Stalking out of the house in his own due time, the senior surgeon reared back aghast at the sight. "Well, I'll be hanged," he muttered. "Most everlastingly hanged. Wonder what they think this is? A somnolent kindergarten show? Talk about fiddling while Rome burns." Awkwardly on the top step, he struggled alone into his cumbersome coat. Every tingling nerve in his body, every shuddering sensibility, was racked to its utmost capacity over the distressing scenes he had left behind him in the big house. Back in that luxuriant sick room, youth incarnate lay stripped, root, branch, leaf, bud, blossom, fruit of all its manhood's promise. Back in that erudite library, culture personified, robbed of all its fine philosophy, sat babbling illiterate street curses into its quivering hands. Back in that exquisite pink and gold boudoir, blonded fashion, ravished for once of all its artistry, ran stumbling round and round in interminable circles like a dishevelled hag. In shrill crescendos and discordant basses, with heart-piercing jaggedness, with blood-curdling raspishness, each one, boy, father, mother, meddlesome relative, competent or incompetent assistant, indiscriminate servant, filing his separate sorrow into the senior surgeon's tortured ears. With one of those sudden revulsions to materialism which is liable to overwhelm any man who delves too long at a time in the brutally unconventional issues of life and death, the senior surgeon stepped down into the subtle, hyacinth-scented sunshine with every latent human greed in his body clamoring for expression, before it too should be hurtled into oblivion. "Eat, you fool, and drink, you fool, and be merry, you fool, for tomorrow even you, Lendicott R. Faber, may have to die," brawled and rebrawled through his mind like a ribald phonograph tune. At the edge of the bottom step, a precipitous lilac branch that must have budded and bloomed in a single hour smote him stingingly across his cheek. "Laggard," taunted the lilac branch. With the first crunching grit of gravel under his feet, something transcendently naked and unashamed that was neither brazen sorrow nor brazen pain thrilled across his startled consciousness. Over the rolling marshy meadow, beyond the succulent willow hedge that hid the winding river, up from some fluent slim canoe, out from a chorus of virile young tenor voices, a little passionate love song, divinely tender, most incomparatively innocent, came stealing palpitantly forth into that inflammable spring world without a single vestige of accompaniment on it. "Kiss me sweet, the spring is here, and love is lord of you and me. There's no bird in brake or brae, but to his little mate sings he. Kiss me, sweet, the spring is here, and love is lord of you and me. Wrenched like a sob out of his own lost youth, the senior surgeon's faltering college memories took up the old refrain. As I go singing to my dear, kiss me, sweet, the spring is here, and love is lord of you and me. Kiss me, sweet, the spring is here. Just for an instant, a dozen long-forgotten pictures lanced themselves poignantly into his brain. Dingy, uncontrovertible old recitation rooms where young ideas flashed bright and futile as parade swords, elm-shaded slopes where little young bodies lolled on green velvet grasses to expound their harshest cynicisms. Book history, book science, book economics, book love, all the paper passion of all the paper poets swaggering imperiously on boyish lips that would have died 1,000 bashful deaths before the threatening eminence of a real girl's kiss. Magic days, when youth, the one glittering, positive treasure on the tree of life, and woman still a mystery. Woman a mystery! Harshly the phrase ripped through the senior surgeon's brain. Croakingly in that instant all the grim gray scientific years re-overtook him, swamped him, strangled him. Woman a mystery! O ye gods! And youth? Bah! Youth a mere tinsel tinkle on a rotting Christmas tree. Furiously, with renewed venom, he turned and threw his weight again upon the stubbornly resistant crank of his automobile. Vaguely disturbed by the noise and vibration, the white linen nurse opened her big drowsy blue eyes upon him. "Don't jerk it so," she admonished hazily. "You'll wake the little girl." "Well, what about my convenience, I'd like to know?" snapped the senior surgeon in some astonishment. Heavily the white linen nurse's lashes shadowed down again across her sleep-flushed cheeks. "Oh, never mind about that," she mumbled non-concernedly. "Oh, for heaven's sake, wake up there!" bellowed the senior surgeon above the sudden roar of his engine. Adroitly for a man of his bulk, he ran around the radiator and jumped into his seat. Joggled unmercifully into wakefulness, the little girl greeted his return with a generous if distinctly non-tactful demonstration of affection. Grabbing the unwitting fingers of his momentarily free hand, she tapped them proudly against the white linen nurse's plump pink cheek. "See, I call her Peach!" she boasted joyously with all the triumphant air of one who felt assured that mental discrimination such as this could not possibly fail to impress even a person so naturally obtuse as a father. "Don't be foolish," snarled the senior surgeon. "Who, me?" gasped the white linen nurse in a perfect agony of confusion. "Yes, you!" snapped the senior surgeon explosively half an hour later, after interminable miles of absolute silence, and dingy yellow field stubble, and bare brown alder bushes. Truly out of the ascetic habit of his daily life, where no rain was, as the Bible would put it, it did seem to him distinctly foolish, not to say careless, not to say out and out incendiary, for any girl to go blushing her way like a firebrand through a world so palpably populated by young men whose heads were tow and hearts indisputably tinder rather than tender. "Yes, you!" he reasserted vehemently at the end of another silent mile. Then, plainly begrudging this second inexcusable interruption of his most vital musings concerning spinal meningitis, he scowled his way savagely back again into his own grimly established trend of thought. Excited by so much perfectly good silence that nobody seemed to be using, the little crippled girl ventured gallantly forth once more into the hazardous conversational land of grown-ups. "Father?" she experimented cautiously with most commendable discretion. Fathoms deep in abstraction, the senior surgeon stared unheeding into the whizzing black road.